right, getting in breaking inputs. In fact, the Union Minister of Parliamentary Affairs, Kiren Rijiju, has responded saying we are ready for a discussion on S.I.R. as per the Business Advisory Committee, but do not insist on a timeline right now. Remember, this is also the word that he had sent out while addressing one of the houses of the Parliament yesterday, when he was saying that we are not against a discussion on S.I.R., but it is the timeline, and that the Parliament will not be held to ransom because the opposition is demanding that the S.I.R. discussion should take place right away. The government needs to prioritize the number of bills, 13 as we are being told. 3 of them were, remember, tabled yesterday itself, and some very important bills are still pending to be tabled. And so the government wanting to prioritize that. Prime Minister Modi himself also highlighting that there are several MLAs and MPs from the opposition who also want to share their concerns, burgeoning concerns rather, as ministers. But let's listen in to what Kiren Rijiju is saying.
Please don't put timeline condition on anything. I'm going to engage with the leader of oppositions from different political parties. It may be formally, informally, but ultimately it will come to you, sir, formally once we start the process of some consultation. Everything cannot be mechanical. In parliamentary democracy, we have to engage in dialogue, we have to engage in discussion. कल भी हमने रिक्वेस्ट किया है कि यह बिजनेस तैयार किया गया है, हम लोग चर्चा के लिए तैयार है, लेकिन एक बात तो हम लोग औपचारिक मिलना तो चाहिए। ये टाइम बताते कि अभी बताओ कब से होगा, ऐसा कोई तरीका नहीं होता है।
All right, so let's quickly go across to Arunima. We'll put that into perspective. So, Arunima, what Kiren Rijiju is saying as the Union Minister for Parliamentary Affairs is, of course, highlighting a highly irresponsible and unconstitutional behavior of the opposition party, given that he's already stated that they're not against a discussion on the S.I.R., but the BSC, of course, has their own agenda set, and there's time allocated for each discussion.
See, but what Kiren Rijiju is saying now is a different stand that the government is taking from the one that they had taken in the last session. Last session of Parliament was also washed out because of opposition's insistence on a discussion on S.I.R. And then the government's stand was that we cannot discuss S.I.R. because it is not something that is a government initiative. Who would reply to the discussion? Election Commission of India or the CEC or any EC official cannot come to the Parliament and answer these questions, and therefore the opposition's demand is unconstitutional. It is not something that is backed by rules and procedures. This time, however, the stance that is being taken by the government is, and you just heard the Parliamentary Affairs Minister, he said that we are ready for discussion. The business is being drawn out. We are ready for any discussion, but don't insist on a timeline. Do not say that we will not allow any business of the House till the time you finish a discussion on S.I.R. Don't put a gun to our head is what the government is saying. So there's a nuanced difference in the two positions that the government has taken. And I spoke to senior opposition leaders who were part of the Business Advisory Committee meeting. They also got this indication from the government. I'm just quoting what this opposition leader told me. They said, we were asked what were our top 4 or 5 issues. When we listed them out, we were asked, you can pick one of this and we will give that priority. Okay. So the opposition very clearly told the government functionaries that S.I.R. was their top priority. They want immediate discussion on that. And the government seemed receptive to that idea. A BJP functionary also told me that after the Supreme Court stamp of approval, after the Bihar election results, government has nothing to hide on S.I.R. If they want to discuss electoral reform, so be it. So there are indications that the government is veering towards a position which could be different from the last session.
That's a very interesting piece of information shared by Arunima over there. Let me introduce others also joining in. I can see Aman is also joining us live, as is Arun. CNN News 18 continues to bring you all these latest developments that are taking place in both houses of the Parliament. So, Aman, if we were to begin with, there's an outreach also being made by the Lok Sabha Speaker as we speak. In fact, in the latest breaking inputs that are coming in, the Lok Sabha has also just resumed. So, take us through what has been the interaction like. What are you learning from your sources when Lok Sabha Speaker Shri Om Birla reached out to the opposition members?
See, Akanksha, the backdrop of all this is that the entire monsoon session of Parliament was washed out on the issue of the S.I.R. The government was very fixated that, you can't have a discussion on Election Commission's functioning in the House, citing a Balram Jakar ruling as the speaker, many years back when he was a Congress leader. On the other side, the opposition kept saying that how you can discuss S.I.R. as a part of a larger discussion on electoral reforms. In the monsoon session, there was no consensus on both sides and we saw a complete washout. I think the effort now is by the Lok Sabha Speaker also that the winter session of Parliament should not be a repeat of the monsoon session of Parliament. Can he bring both the sides together to some sort of consensus? We'll have to wait and see what are the results of the meeting that the Lok Sabha Speaker has just held with the MPs. We'll have to wait and see what middle way in a way is reached out of all this. But I think the government is still very, very clear that just a discussion on the S.I.R. is not possible. If a larger electoral reform discussion is proposed by the opposition, if the government is agreeable, we'll know it when the BAC meets and if the BAC approves that. Kiren Rijiju is also saying the same, that the matters are brought to the BAC and from there we'll take a call. But I think the effort from both the government as well as the Lok Sabha Speaker is not a repeat of the monsoon session. It should not be a washout. There are important bills. There's the discussion on Vande Mataram which is to happen. So all this should happen. That is what the government's effort seems to be here.
Let me take that point forward with Arun also. Arun, Aman very interestingly pointed out that the government is not against a larger discussion when it comes to electoral reforms and that it should not just be limited to S.I.R. But what is it that the opposition is demanding? Is it just the overall S.I.R. exercise and the death of the BLOs?
Well, now it seems, Akanksha, that opposition parties are ready to have that larger discussion on the electoral reforms. Earlier, as Aman has also highlighted, that in the monsoon session we have seen they have really told one line that they only want discussion on S.I.R., nothing else. Even at that point in time, Treasury bench has given signals to the opposition that there could be a discussion on the electoral reforms. But at that point in time, they were not agreeing to it. Now it seems that both opposition and the government have kind of coming to a consensus where a discussion can happen. Remember, government is very right on this fact when they say that a discussion on S.I.R. cannot happen because, see, it's about an independent and autonomous body, election commission, and it's a routine affair of the election commission to conduct these, electoral rolls, S.I.R., etc. So you cannot have that discussion in the parliament, and whatever possible for the government, that can be done. And the possibility here is that they can have discussion on the electoral reforms because government says that you cannot have anybody from the election commission to respond to your queries. But when you have discussion on the electoral reforms, then you can have government ministers, concerned ministers can be responding to those arguments from the opposition side.
All right, stay with me, Arun, Arunima and Aman as well, because we are getting in more breaking